All right, welcome to another episode of Convos in the Pedicab. I'm here with lawyer and owner of ATX Bud Tenders, Adam Reposa. Adam is best known for making very entertaining videos, advertising his services, as well as in the past he has also been arrested and had to serve some time for contempt of court for speaking out against judges presiding over cases in which his client wound up winning. But Adam, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you very much, Alex. It's good to be known for something. I'm known for two fucking things. That's even better.
I like it. You know, I feel like you were a pretty big fixture in Austin politics. Like, you were very well known. Between 5 to 10 years ago, you were almost like not a household name, but you were definitely anybody who knew anything about local politics knew exactly who you were.
Yeah, I think that I definitely fell off. The pandemic just sapped all of my motivation. I definitely gave up on America at the time of the pandemic, but I want you to know I'm back. America's back. We're back.
Well, why did you give up on America?
We just got rid of the Constitution. We just acted like jury trials don't matter. The sniffles just prevent us from being able to give people their constitutional protections. And at that point, I realized, oh, shit. This is here to stay, motherfucker. They are going to goddamn suspend your rights, probably with regularity, moving forward until they get the new American Constitution in place.
What's the new American Constitution?
Some, not all. And that includes your constitutional rights, free speech, jury trial, all that shit.
It does. So it actually does feel as though you have a group of unelected bureaucrats
100%.
who go to Davos every year.
100%.
That palled around with Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. And as far as I'm concerned, until they release that client list, anybody who's making any laws restricting any of your constitutional freedoms was on that plane.
100%.
Yeah, glad we're on the same page with this.
You don't get to get in that position unless you're willing to do the job. And the job is some, not all. Good news, you're part of the some. And they get it, and they take it. That is American history.
Yeah. And then these people, they're going to use crisis after crisis to
100%.
gradually suspend your rights to usher in their new world order that they want to plan for you.
The worst part is that they're perceived crises. They're not even real fucking crises. Like, there's a real crisis going on, and it's business as fucking usual. World War III is starting in front of us. No one is batting an eye. The sniffles come to town. Everyone dives under their covers.
Well, there's World War III. There's the bastardization of what's happening at the border. There is the threat of a cyber attack, which is, you're seeing small scale cyber attacks and cyber destructions happen on a regular basis. You're seeing a movie that got released on Netflix called Leave the World Behind, produced by the Obamas, in which they depict a catastrophic cyber attack where you can't even use your satellite phone. And so nothing works anymore. And usually when you make movies like this, it usually is a little bit predictive as to what happens in the future, be it in the next couple months, the next couple of years. But it usually is a sign of what to expect in the near future.
100% you should expect something. I don't know what it is, but destabilization of some form. And so I have no idea whether it's going to be a pathogen. I have no idea what the mechanics of the destabilization are.
I think it's got to be something that causes a big emotional reaction.
Losing your iPhone would do that.
A huge emotional reaction. And now that COVID's over, I don't think another virus is going to cause that same emotional reaction.
Not like losing your iPhone.
I think even with World War III, it's not going to cause that same emotional reaction because nobody wants to enlist in the U.S. military anymore. So even if they start implementing the draft, I don't think they will. I've heard that before, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is me with wearing a tinfoil hat. I think the crisis at the border is kind of going hand in hand with the event of a military draft because for lack of a better explanation, you or I don't want to go fight, go risk our lives to get killed in Ukraine or in the Middle East, especially when our government is trampling on the rights that's supposed to come with living in America. But guess what? Juan from Venezuela, who just came over here and walked over the border from a third world country, will definitely go if he can become a U.S. citizen.
I absolutely, if you look at the Civil War and you look at the history of slaves as, I mean, I don't want to say scabs, but you just fill in the gaps of the army, and then you just sort of get pushed to the front lines, and then you just have this little funneling effect. Yeah, it makes perfect economic sense. I don't see how in the hell you would ever protect this country based on the people who are in this country.
You
so
can't.
Of course,
and nobody's having children here. It's about nobody's really having children. The people that are having children are Latin immigrants because that's still part of their culture, and that's a good thing, right? Like we should be having more children in our society. But you have that.
Let the record reflect we got 6 kids, but
well, good
keep
for
going.
you. Me and my girlfriend are trying right now for one, but I'm part of that problem, And so when you have something like this, when you have
if you
something
need
like this
some
going
advice on how to get women pregnant, I'm available.
Thank you. I will take you up on that. I feel like I kind of know the gist of what to do.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Don't pull. Just push.
That's some sound scientific advice. You should also be a life coach with that. That
always keep pushing.
Always keep pushing. Never pull out. No, just don't do it. But anyway, back to what we were saying. Back to what we're saying. Like even in like the Roman Empire, like anytime an empire falls, like the last stage of an empire collapsing is using it's using your subjects. It's using cut your dick off.
It's cut your dick off.
Okay.
Once gender roles and everything starts getting loosey goosey is when you're on your way out.
Yes, and then also using your subjects to fight your wars for you because you've demoralized the people who live you've demoralized the people in your own country so much that they don't want to fight your own wars.
I never have looked at that as an economic force, but it makes perfect sense that imperialism begets imperialism until you have nothing. All you have is a ruling class and these subjects with nothing in between, and then your whole shit falls apart.
Yeah, well, it's like, hey, let's create a permanent underclass whose lives are so much better from being in your area versus the other area that you kind of fucked up, and so they're not going to come in respecting your own system of government, but they will do whatever you tell them so that they can continue and maintain their improvement in quality of life that they got from just coming into your country. And then all of a sudden now you have all of a sudden you're one generation removed from having a police force that will absolutely trample on your constitutional rights. And we're having problems with that already as it is, but when you have people that don't have an allegiance to this country becoming your cops, then that's like the kiss of death with all that,
I do think that makes perfect sense that you have the opportunism, and that one of the things that I've sort of looked at is the idea that progress, it convinces people that the threats and concerns of the previous generation just are no longer well-founded. Like, we're past that.
Yes.
And that it's all just so ridiculously naive that then you start to realize, wait a second, this is how it all happens, is that they all know this is ridiculously naive, and our choices are to be like, bullshit, this is ridiculously naive, or be like the rich guys on the Titanic who were like, well, let's just go drink our Grand Marnier and smoke cigars because we've, done our time. And that, yeah, I think that American, whatever you call the privileged class, is just like, let them eat cake and just watching as, I don't know if you call it disintegration, I don't know if you call it foundering. I don't know if you call it failing.
Adam, the problem, though, is that the privileged class has now extended to the activists complaining about privilege.
Correct. Everyone is so fucking entitled in this goddamn country.
Yeah, so like...
Except for the motherfuckers willing to die to get a job.
Yeah.
2 classes. That's it.
Well, all right. So even the term privilege, that's such a wide scope because to me and you, the privileged class are the Klaus Schwabs, the Bill Gateses, the Soroses, the Koch brothers, the Bushes and the Cheneys, right? Like, no?
I mean, the problem is that it's like Nietzsche, right? Like when Nietzsche said Rome is one. Like, what was good? Good used to be I came into your fucking place, I killed all your men, I raped all your women, and I stole all the fucking gold. Oh, that's good. That's good. And then it was like, well, we flipped it. And then it was like, well, the people who survive, the victims who survive, they're good. The abusers, they're bad, right? Well, privilege used to be literally you own the manor in England. You're the lord. Everyone else, they just say what the fuck you say. Whatever you say, they have to say it. You hold title. And those serfs and those motherfuckers, they just say whatever the fuck you say. Well, we came to America, and then it's like, wait a second. You still have this role in society, but you don't own anything. And that's the new privilege. That's the new entitlement. Like, you get to be right. You get to be superior. You get to be moral. You get to know what progress means, but you don't actually have shit. And you're totally tenuous in your future. And you're okay with that. You're okay to trust that they're not going to fuck you next. And that is who these people are.
Yes, but it's always the rich private school kid that has a trust fund that's leading these movements.
Actually privileged.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's the one that's railing the most about privilege.
And that's the point is
The
that
trust fund socialist.
that they're exactly the white guys that vote Republican, and everyone's like, who the fuck are you? They now have the exact equal opposite within
The white guys who vote Democrat now.
the Democrat Party. They're the exact equal opposite of like, what
Well-
the fuck are you doing? This isn't progress. This isn't helping you. This is just
So,
going to die
I
on the vine, and it's obviously a loser.
So it feels as though the Democratic Party right now is a woke, a nauseatingly woke version of the Republican Party in 2004.
That is more than I was just going to go with the Generals. A woke team to lose to the Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we're here. We get to wave flags, say a bunch of shit, and lose. And, like, we're going to lose to what everyone agrees is just the most batshit
But-
outlier human being ever, Donald Trump. And that is going to be there to make them realize, like, you are all slaves.
Wait, so you
You're
think-
all slaves.
Repeat what you just said a little bit slower.
Donald Trump is born to win. He can't lose, and it is there so that, like, remember the first time when they laid on the ground, like, not going to work, like, Trump won. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go. It's going to be worse this time.
What do you think's gonna happen?
I mean, whatever's worse than not going to work, cut your dick off or whatever. I don't know.
No, like, so, how do you feel about Donald Trump?
I mean, you know, it's obviously it's hard being that rich and that white, and it gets to you eventually, and you say some things you probably shouldn't. But as far as, well, who's going to take this shit? Who is not going to take this shit? Who is going to say, all right, fuck you, America first? I don't know who
But
else is going to take that position besides
Well,
Donald Trump.
I mean, we can segue into this, but I think that for me, what I've noticed is that Donald Trump is a better symbol than a leader. And when you look at Donald Trump and look at what he's done, locking down the country, going $7 trillion, running a $7 trillion deficit, bullying the Fed for low interest rates when we had a strong economy, giving Dr. Fauci the country, and then giving him a commendation medal, refusing to pardon Assange or Snowden, but instead pardoning
Lil Wayne.
and Kodak Black. Endorsing Ronna McDaniel, a proven loser, to be in charge of the GOP. When a lot of people who wouldn't have voted Republican are starting to want to vote GOP, and you're not willing to attract these new voters. Endorsing Kevin McCarthy to be the House Speaker, endorsing a slew of terrible candidates in 2022. Doing absolutely nothing when BLM was destroying every single major city in America during 2020. Not wanting to hold anybody accountable for the disastrous COVID shot that got rolled out. I mean, the list goes on. And then saying that you want Nikki Haley to, alluding to the fact that you want somebody like a globalist warmonger like Nikki Haley to be the vice president of the United States, when her first act was to say we want everyone on social media to have an ID in order to post something. That is the opposite of putting America first. That's the exact that's not putting America first at all. It's a total scam. And if you want to talk presidential politics, the only person whose actions show that they want to put America first is Ron DeSantis, and then Donald Trump has spent his entire campaign attacking the only person who's been a proven leader to actually implement what he says he wants to do.
Now, I have no problem believing any of Donald Trump waters down the Republican brand to give them room to go in whatever direction. Like, he's without a principle, without a platform. He's just, like you said, the symbol.
Yeah, he's a symbol, and you know what he does? He gets woke Democrat communists to come out and vote in droves, and then you have what you're having in Austin, specifically with who our district attorney is, Jose Garza, and then you're having that all over the country. And you know, and then
what you mean.
And then you watch the World Economic Forum videos where they talk about 15-minute cities. Nobody in their right mind wants to live in a 15-minute city. You want to know how you live in a 15-minute city? Is when people move out, when businesses leave, and big-time developers connected to the Davos class come in, buy things for pennies in the dollar, and then restructure and rezone where you live to actually create that 15-minute city. The only way that you can ever implement something like that, which is an open-air prison, is by destabilizing the justice system and making people voluntarily want to sell their house, sell their business, and leave the city and move into the country.
Now, it's certainly we are seeing a realigning of American society, no doubt. And it is why I have tried to jump on the weed industry, because people need cheap weed, people need to be able to earn a living, and I want to prevent the industry being given to corporations. Yeah, I've got no problem believing that what happened in New Orleans, whether or not everybody was waiting or it was just opportunism, no question, entire neighborhoods bought at pennies on the dollar. Then developers came in, made a bunch of money, and have basically replanned New Orleans to stop being urban poor and start being sort of urban metro.
Yeah, but New Orleans is pretty ghetto still.
Well, but I'm just saying is they got rid of entire neighborhoods. Like entire sides of town were leveled, and then they put in new housing that was far more expensive than the housing that was there previously.
And then you also have these DAs that think that legalizing crime and defunding local law enforcement is the way to kind of make up and give back to it. But all it does is it pushes more people out and gets more developers, and it's like the finishing touches on that.
Buddy, it is no question that remember, do you know why there is an Oakland?
Explain.
In World War II, they packed up all the motherfucking blacks and took them to Oakland and just cleaned out the entire mid-city mission district of San Francisco to put in expensive housing. And so, like, this is a real thing that it will happen, and that I believe absolutely all of that, like, smash and grab shit in San Francisco is so that you can create an environment where it's like, now bring in the draconian, bring in the shit that, like you say, is going to make everyone pack up, leave, and go to another locale, and you have a very homogeneous community that started as a bunch of crackheads and criminals, drive them all out, take those projects, knock them down, and now you have expensive downtown housing, and all of your blacks are moving to Pflugerville, all of your blacks are moving to Round Rock, all the same shit you see here.
But you've actually seen that a lot more so like 10 or so years ago than you're seeing now.
I have no idea. What do you think is coming next?
Well, I think Austin is in a very weird, precarious position. I think this election is actually going to be a very pivotal election in terms of what the city turns into.
I mean, I don't see that it's anything but a delay. I think even if Jose Garza wins again.
How do you feel about Jose Garza?
I mean, there's clearly a question of, has the criminal justice system been used to drive a wedge between the haves and the have-nots? Yes. Now, we want to figure out a way to make the truth of that the least effective. Well, exactly what you said. You have these Davos forums, you have these Soros fucking funded, brainwashed media bullshit, and you come to the idea that, listen, we're just going to get rid of prison. We're going to get rid of prison, and we're going to fix everybody. That is how you completely get people to forget about 80 years of using the justice system to promote a certain economic politics, to keep people in their place, to keep the rich rich, to keep people subjected for 80 years. You want to get rid of any memory of that? 4 years of everybody who's convicted or everybody who's arrested.
They don't want to get rid of prisons. They just want to put a different type of person in prison.
Well, or just a different prison model. We no longer want to make you go out to the holiday unit. We'll keep you in your fucking house on a monitor. We'll make it to where you can't leave your house. We'll tell you have to sit at home. But the point being,
what they're doing right now
fentanyl dealers, the violent crime, all of that is no longer resulting in warehousing people off site. We're gonna fix them right here in our neighborhood.
Well, they're not. They don't really want to fix them. That's just a platitude. Those are just platitudes, I feel.
Well, it's obvious, but if you're gonna fix these motherfuckers, you're gonna have to start when they're 5, and you're gonna have to do a lot more than what we're doing. And we're waiting until you're 19, your dad died, and now you're gonna go and rob someone, and we're gonna be like, wait a second, probation.
Okay.
Probation is gonna change your life. And so this person then goes out, commits more crimes, someone fucking dies. Next thing you know, DA, probation, fixing people, all that shit. Fuck you. I remember when we tried that. Yeah. That's why we're doing it, to give a bad name to criminal justice reform. Criminal justice reform, that's where you let all those goddamn sexual predators back out on the street to rape more people. That's where you let all those aggravated robber motherfuckers on probation to rob more people. And that's exactly what people are going to come to the conclusion. That is what Jose Garza's role is to make everyone think prison reform is a terrible idea. Just look at the stupid shit that Jose Garza did. That's why he got the job, to give prison reform a terrible name.
Yes, and then the next step after Garza leaves, be it either in 24 or in 2028.
Hire Adam Reposa to keep you out of prison.
Yes, that too. But also the next step is you turn Austin into an actual police state, and then you build the infrastructure. Once you create like 15-minute cities with this whole new urbanism thing, it becomes very easy to turn where you live into an actual open-air prison. And then once everything starts getting automated, you see stuff with like the whole defund the police thing, and then shortly afterwards, now they're using robot police dogs. You're having more security cameras, not so much in Austin, but in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. Eventually with the prevalence and advancement of AI, you might not even have human beings.
Why do you need them?
You might not even have human beings becoming police officers.
Why do you need them?
Why do you need them? Exactly.
Buddy, we can turn your car off remotely. We can, all of these things.
Well, this is the problem, though, and this is what the conservative reactionary activists are missing when they criticize Garza's policy, because they just make themselves look like, I hate saying the word racist, right? Like because I can't think of a better word, and I don't think that they are, but it just makes them look backwards, right? Like the way in which like a lot of these conservative activists or like the preservationists are criticizing Garza, they're not doing it from a forward-learning model. They're just being very reactionary. And then the more reactionary you are, the more you just strengthen the case for a guy like Garza to stay in office.
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah, I think that, you have to take a step back and look into the future as what are the possible end results of a guy like Jose Garza as a DA. And one of the things that you're going to start seeing is that you start seeing businesses move out, you see people move out. You got to sell grandma's house now, even though you don't want to. And then big-time developers buy up everything on the cheap. You start giving tax subsidies to AI companies, and all of a sudden now, like, those AI companies might be automating police departments. So now you start building, you start laying down the infrastructure for 15-minute cities, and when you can't drive your car in certain places, and you have car-free zones under the guise of like climate change and quote-unquote environmental protectionism, which isn't even real, because if they actually cared about protecting the environment, you'd be able to go fish and eat the fish out of Barton Springs or Lady Bird Lake, which you can't do. And none of these environmentalists give two shits about that or have any idea as to how to address that whatsoever. So you have that in play. All you do is you create the framework for these 15-minute cities, which are open-air jails, and combine that with AI police and security cameras everywhere. All of a sudden, you used progressive ideology and criminal justice reform to create an open-air prison. And the progressive activists who were the biggest supporters to get Garza elected and led all the BLM to fund the police movements, right before BLM, they were the same people talking about calling the cops on you for going outside to the park without a mask on during COVID.
Is any of that surprising?
Looking back on it, no, but back when I saw this happen, because I used to be friends with a lot of those people, I was disgusted.
You had no idea.
I was disgusted by it.
You had no idea.
Didn't really get it.
Now, see, as someone, because you mentioned that I've been twice put in jail.
Yeah.
Both times, they were without jurisdiction. You know the idea of jurisdiction? The court gets to hear it, right?
Yes.
And so, like, if I told you contempt of court, guess who usually gets contempt of court?
Not the DA, not the defense, right?
People who don't pay their
Court fees, court costs, taxes.
child support.
Okay.
Child support is what an overwhelming majority of contempt cases throughout the country are every year.
Okay.
Very settled law. If you put someone in jail for contempt of court, you have to give them a sentence. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
You can't just say, go to jail.
Yeah,
You
but
have to say,
they gave you a sentence, all right? Like 30 days
go
or
to
90 days or
jail
something?
for 30 days.
Yeah.
So both times, the judge who held me in contempt didn't give me a sentence. Both times I got up and said, then I get a jury trial. I have not been convicted. I am being tried. The first time, my lawyer never really raised it because he was scared to say it. Then the second time, my second lawyer was like, Adam, you were right. I thought you were wrong. I looked at it, you're right. Showed everybody the case law that says this is jurisdictional. If you don't have a sentence on a judgment, it's void. Like, you know how like The Price is Right, they give you a check and they stamp void on it?
Yeah.
They had a void judgment. And guess what they did? Put me in jail on it twice, even though I told everybody in the defense bar, hey, you realize this is a void judgment?
Yeah.
And guess what they all did? Patted me on the head and giggled and whatever. So it was no surprise to me when the pandemic got here. They all put on masks and weren't none of them worried. Wait a second. You realize they could be taking away our liberty and our freedom, right? Like that
No, but then those same people are going to be happy that the ACLU is suing Texas for enforcing the border.
Correct.
You know, it's like these people.
100%.
You see a lot of true colors come out.
Well, it's not that they have colors. You see that they're absolutely mindless. They have never thought through any one of their positions. They're just fashion. Today it's this, tomorrow it's that. And it's fine. It is totally fine that today everybody agrees, well, listen, Sally, I know you spent your whole life trying to be a swimmer, but Billy's now Sarah and you're in second place. And it's fine. And everybody was just accepting of that. Like, it was just fine. It's just fine, Sally. It's just fine. And
and then you're a white supremacist Trump supporter who's a terrorist, who's a domestic terrorist for objecting now.
Which is fine.
That's how it is.
Which is fine.
But then if you're a real terrorist coming over the border, hey, go ahead, waltz on in. Hey,
which is fine.
Don't go to the Capitol and protest on January 6th. But if you're a Palestinian Intifada Hamas sympathizer, go waltz right into the Capitol. What's the problem? Hey,
which is fine.
Yeah.
And that I'm just looking at it from the perspective of, is this going to make it easier or harder for the rich to maintain their position in society? So to the extent that anybody can cross the border and make these security threats and everything can be destabilized and everything can be controversial and everything can be so difficult.
Well, it makes it way easier. You know why?
It makes perfect sense to me that everybody responds the way they do.
Yeah, and actually, this does help. People think, oh, how does it help? How does this stuff help BlackRock? How does this help the big corporations? How
What?
Does that, well, of course, I was talking to my aunt about this, and I'm like,
What?
It definitely this stuff, this uncontrolled migration stuff, and everything that goes along with it, absolutely helps because if they start busting out central bank if they start implementing central bank digital currencies, you're going to implement it on the guise of providing people a livable wage, helping immigrants. You know, they're going to use a whole bunch of progressive ideology to help sway the public into accepting something like this. And then the more you destabilize a country, the more people need a universal livable wage. And then the people who control the issuance of the central bank digital currency have absolute power over everything without you being able to resist in any capacity.
Well, I mean, isn't that the goal of society?
Does that make sense what I'm saying, though? Like,
I don't see how you avoid it.
Well, you buy Bitcoin and put it in a cold storage.
Yeah,
we
have to figure out some mechanism.
You start using Bitcoin and transacting with Bitcoin and learn the best practices for securing it and utilizing it. That's what you do. Speaking of which, does ATX bud tenders accept Bitcoin for payments?
We have cash only right now, but these are definitely conversations about what are we going to do as the years go by, because certainly we're watching the same developments you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great service out in Austin. It's called Unchained Capital. Very great way to actually secure your Bitcoin in a very safe way that you have full control of your funds. So if you want to talk about it at some point, not now, but a little bit later.
I love all of these discussions. Father Sean, he is in charge of all of our goddamn securities of our finances, so I know that you and Matt can definitely start chopping up the ways that ATX Bud Tenders is ready to work with everybody in the community to stave off what you are obviously identifying, which is a move. We're being moved on. There's no question. And so we've got to figure out what can we do to shore up.
Well, what you do, so the first thing, I think one of the first things is develop a strong foundation so that you can protect yourself against something like this happening. And in order for people to consent to CBDCs, you need hyperinflation, you need uncontrolled migration, you need a desperate and demoralized enough public who are going to do whatever it takes for them to want to have a living wage, right? Having FedCoin airdrop to you every single month is a lot of people who are really running on hard times that didn't invest wisely during the pandemic or buy an investable asset or own investable assets. They're going to be begging for it because there's going to be no other choice, right?
Buddy.
So you're going to see a lot of that. So the first thing I think you need to do is be active against even implementing this. And you still have, I believe in 2024, there's still an opportunity to vote your way out of this. And don't fall for the Trump hype. I think DeSantis is a better choice because he banned central bank digital currencies in Florida. He actually shrunk the deficit. He actually has governed in a way that could not prevent it outright, but delay it for another 10 years, which gives you more time to continue building that foundation.
I just don't see how anybody gets around the brainwashing element. It is so clear to me that what you said, right? Let's go, Brandon. Everybody is so lockstep against the Democrats, against what their so-called progressive policies, against all the things that you're outlining.
Yeah.
That they feel like, again, the same thing. We have to vote for Biden. He's the only thing that's going to save us from Trump, which means Trump's getting elected.
Trump isn't getting elected, though.
Means.
Trump's not going to get elected.
He's not going to win the Republican primary, or he's not going to win the election?
I think he's not going to win the election, and I'll tell you why.
But he will win the Democrats.
I don't know. I hope
win
not.
The election?
Let me finish what I'm saying. I don't think it's as simple as that. Actually, I think that what could be very likely to happen is, in the event that Donald Trump wins the primary, what's happening right now with the attacks on DeSantis is they're trying to prime, and the establishment push, the establishment messaging is they're trying to push Nikki Haley into second place. What they're trying to do is, if Trump does win the election, they're going to try to throw him in jail and do every legal method possible to stop him from being able to run as the Republican. And if that does happen, then if Haley comes in second, the Republican, the national GOP, who's headed by total incompetence, I could very easily see them picking someone like Nikki Haley to be the Republican nominee for president, which, to be honest, is no different than picking a Democrat. And then when you see what's happening,
no choice is no choice.
Yes,
nice.
Yes, and then
I really feel
wait,
like
hold on.
Is Vegas taking bets on this? Because that is a good, strong bet.
I actually might. There is a website called Predicted, and I might actually place a bet on that.
Because Trump goes to jail. Nikki Haley. That's got to be like 500 to 1.
It's 18. I think it's like 18, negative 18 or something like that, or 18 cents. That's what the bets are for Predicted. So I think I would actually place a bet on that. That's not a bad idea. And then what I think could also happen too is, why do you think they're ramping up all this stuff about Hunter Biden and the impeachment inquiries and all these things about Biden
so
right now?
Nobody has credibility. Nobody wants to fuck with Biden. Nobody wants to fuck with Trump. Nobody wants to fuck with America.
Yeah. And so
pennies on the dollar.
Well, hold on. So with that being said, and then someone like Gavin Newsom is, making all these nationally televised appearances, and you saw him just get eviscerated by Ron DeSantis on television debating. But if Ron DeSantis doesn't get the nominee and they wind up installing Nikki Haley, what's the stop? Why would the Democrats not just say, okay, why would they not have a talk with Biden and tell him, look, this is what's happening. We recommend that you step down. We won't file any charges against you or your son. We'll protect your family, and then we're going to put Gavin Newsom in place. And then all of a sudden now you're going to be left with a choice between Gavin Newsom and Nikki Haley, which are both two horrible choices, and your agency to vote will thus be taken away from you.
That's brilliant.
So that's what
That's
what I could see happening. And then also, let's say that doesn't happen and Trump just gets the
fuck with you,
nominee,
Alex. I fuck
and
with
Trump just gets nominated. He's gonna have to spend so much money having to go to court and defend himself that he's not gonna be able to spend as much time doing rallies or campaigning or doing anything. And his court cases are gonna be all over the news. And guess what? It's just gonna encourage more like insane people with
That's
insane
what I
ideology
believe.
to vote in droves.
That's what I
and then Garza
believe.
gets reelected. The Soros
That's
DAs get
what I
The
believe.
Soros DAs get reelected. Trump loses. He may claim that it's fraud, and maybe so, but it'll be close enough that it doesn't matter because you need to pass a margin of fraud to win regardless. Trump doesn't have that. And then, everybody, and then all of a sudden, like, everything is fully
Kennedy. Have you
I actually
considered
like Kennedy too. I would, if it's Trump and Biden, I'm choosing Kennedy.
Well, I'm just saying, have you considered Kennedy? Or was it Henry Clay and all that other shit? You know what I'm talking about?
Robert Kennedy?
Yeah, Henry Clay and all that other shit.
Who's Henry Clay?
So Henry Clay was the president of the United States that never was. John Adams got a deal passed where the Electoral College gave him the presidency even though it was a total plurality and no one won a majority. Once you get to no majority and there's a plurality, then shit can get fucked up. And so no one has considered the idea that Kennedy gives the Electoral College the power to just fucking start like bargaining and just making up shit and just, well, I'll give you this if you give me that. And that if there is no majority, if no one holds a majority, then it's like
if nobody gets to 270 or something like that.
That thing where you have the game of like fuck your neighbor and you pass a card and the last one becomes wild. Like that's where the fucking Electoral College all of a sudden, wait a second, we can do whatever we want. We can do you, or you. And so I believe that is true. I believe that if no one gets a majority, they're not bound to be like, well, we have to vote in whoever got the high. And it's not like, oh, well, then we're going to have a runoff like it's a state election. Fuck no. The Electoral College has a lot of stroke at that position. And that is exactly where, looking at Henry Clay and the deal that was cut that got John Adams the presidency, yeah, buddy. I don't know. You're right about Trump when you're like, dude, don't think that, because I just always assumed he was going to get reelected because that's like just slap in the face. Like so many people are just going to be like, whack, when Trump gets reelected. And so that is the division.
Trump's not getting reelected. And even if he does, what's he going to really do? It's just like let's say he does get reelected. It's not. I don't even know that it even is a slap in the face of the establishment because all you get is a circus. You'll get a Democrat majority in one of those houses guaranteed if he does get reelected.
Oh no.
And then you'll get even more disasters because if you saw how Trump handled COVID, if there's one thing that Donald Trump cannot do, and it's manage disasters.
Yeah, make a decision.
So then you're gonna have even more disasters. They're gonna blame Trump. You're gonna blame anybody who is equated with supporting Donald Trump, which is anybody who believes in like the constitutionally protected freedoms that come with living in America. We're all going to be Trump supporters by proxy. And then it'll be another further excuse to divide the country and cause people like us to get attacked and ransacked even more. So, I mean, either way, they're setting up, setting the pieces up either way. So it doesn't like, but, you know, if Trump does win, the one positive is that maybe if you have a stock portfolio, it could be good for your portfolio short term.
Well, I mean,
that's kind of it.
I really feel like, Alex, we need to bring you in as like a minister of information. Like the idea that the ATX bud tenders is the only thing that could save America. That everybody having their own store, making product, distributing, everybody gets paid, everybody gets an opportunity, that is the only thing that's going to save America. Because you can't bust anyone in Austin right now. We are getting our tax ID number through the comptroller.
So that actually is the one good thing about Jose Garza is that he won't charge you for smoking weed. And
all.
that actually is a good thing about him.
For selling weed. And by that I mean T-shirts and then giving away weed.
Yes.
Selling T-shirts, giving away weed.
Yeah.
Not CDB, weed.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that you explaining to people that if you don't do this, then Donald Trump is going to do this is exactly what we need for our branding. Because right now, Jose Garza is sending out all this stuff about if you don't give me money, Donald Trump's going to win. And that's what he's doing.
Okay, and then you should talk about like, well, what happens if Donald Trump wins? What will happen if Donald Trump wins? Let's talk about what
$100
will happen.
ounces.
Yeah.
$100 ounces.
Let's talk about what actually happens if Donald Trump wins, because if you're worried about fascism and authoritarianism and your rights getting taken away, you should be worried about it. Let's have a real discussion and talk about how that will actually
the question
go into.
is,
Let's talk about how that will actually go into effect.
What is the best mechanism if you are interested in that? And clearly, we're all afraid of Mexicans. We're all afraid of fucking Chinese. But we're most afraid of the sniffles. Like the sniffles are the most viable for ways to get. I'm sorry, but I'm still feeling like they got another one of those fucking things in the they've got another virus. They're gonna whip it out at the right time. Everyone's gonna run home.
Oh boy, let me tell you something.
And they've got
Let me tell you something, Adam. That's not. I think it's a little bit. There's a little more to that. I think that you're seeing a lot of excess deaths as a result of the shot that is totally safe and effective. And if you see people start dropping off in very noticeable numbers, who have all happened to have gotten those shots.
How many vaccines did you get?
Well, the number of vaccines I've got rhymes with hero.
Well, the number I've got rhymes with bun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you're okay. But what I could see happening is I could see people dropping from.
Well,
that.
no. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I fucked that up. I guess it rhymes with one and starts with N.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I fucked that up. That's on me.
Yeah. So
I
we've
have ruined the podcast once again.
Wow.
Zero.
Zero,
Zero
yeah,
is the answer.
zero.
The answer is zero.
But but the thing is that I didn't tell you this, but I'm actually trans as well, and so part of being trans is that you get to identify as whatever you want, and so I identify as someone who's had 3 shots and 5 boosters, even though I haven't had a single one. And I actually have T-shirts that say "trans vaccinated" on the T-shirts.
I identify as a weed dealer.
There you go. Excellent. But what I was going to say is a lot of these people who got their shots, they might wind up they could very easily drop off from it, and then and then all of a sudden you blame it on a new virus or a new variant, and everybody goes along with it because nobody wants to admit that the vaccine that they got tricked into taking is going to kill them, and then they'll blame us. So I can see that. I can see that happening.
I fuck with you, bro.
I can see like that happening.
I fuck with you, bro. I fuck with you because again, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I go to court, and I've got a case where this dude has got a big ass gash on his head, and his story is, well, I've never been arrested in my life. I got real fucked up at the bar. I came outside and I got arrested and put in the drunk tank. So then when they're walking me in shackles, I start, because I've never been arrested, thinking, can I talk to the manager? Can I talk to the manager?
Oh, you don't do that, no.
And so the cop shoves the dude who's in shackles. So guess what happens?
Gashing his head.
He falls down and gashes his head.
Yeah. And now he has a case.
And now he goes to court where he's charged with resisting arrest and says, well, no, dude, he shoved me. And guess what they said? He laid on the ground going like this and got a cut on one side of his head. No marks on the other.
So whatever happened to him?
Found guilty by a jury because their choices were to agree.
So how much did he get time? How much time did he?
No, 0 time.
All right.
But just they couldn't say, we agree that it's possible that this cop just shoved a guy, because then their tax dollars are paying for brutality. So you know what they said? The nice guy was just drunk and didn't remember.
Yeah, and they just they wiped it out. Okay.
That's how they do it. Because they're not going to walk into court and be like, fuck yeah, that cop shoved that motherfucker. Not the well-meaning people of Austin.
No.
So what you're identifying is goddamn scary, that if your choices are either that cop shoved that motherfucker and you're paying for it, either you believed that your government would give you a virus that contains pathogens that could fucking kill you, or fuck no, that never happened.
Well,
those guys over there did it to me, not my government.
Yeah.
That's like 99% of our.
Exactly.
That's 99% of our people.
Even though if you go listen to these Davos meetings, because I do like nerd out and listen. I have an hour drive here, right? So I'll listen to that on the way home, on the way here. You have people at Davos openly talking about how we need to reduce the world's population for climate change sustainability.
Well, I mean, I don't even think
that's a great way. Like doing something like that is a great way to reduce the world's population.
I don't even think any of it's even like hard to understand. Like these same people who thought, you know what we need to do? We need to just get everybody an iPhone and everybody a car and everybody all this shit, and we're going to produce. Eventually realizes, wait a second, we don't need all these consumers. Like, oh yeah, no shit, that's a shocking revelation. So wait a second. Once they realize that we can produce and automate, and we don't need human labor, you mean these people aren't just going to get to hang out?
No, they're useless.
No,
yeah,
they're useless.
I mean, Bill Gates calls them useless eaters, like, so it's.
I mean, it's
what
not
it is.
untrue.
They call them useless eaters. Like
the
that's what they're
world
called.
exists for Bill Gates and not for useless eaters. That is why Mr. Chinga exists.
I like that.
So fucking remind goddamn Bill Gates, fuck you. The cockroach people ain't going away, niggas. We are fucking here to stay.
Best lawyer in town.
I mean, I'm just saying, dog, like, I roll with the motherfuckers that are survivors. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, dog, I represent rich people and I make $800 an hour. And I'm like, dude, I represent broke dicks. I make $200 an hour. I never talk to them. And I try 4 times as many cases in a year as you will.
Adam, how do you feel is the political climate? How long? You've been in Austin for how long?
20 years.
Okay.
Oh, no. I've been here since 92.
Okay.
I've been here 30. I've been a lawyer 20.
Okay. How do you feel as though the political climate has changed?
It hasn't, dude. This is nothing but entitled white people. They're all pseudo-progressive. They're all sitting there getting paid extra money and believing they offer something special.
Wait,
this
so-
town is full of average-ass motherfuckers who are convinced that they're different, and they're not. It's always been that. I was one of them. I used to think I was special. It just took me a long time to realize that's the Austin condition. Everybody here is so goddamn amazing. Everybody here is so goddamn gifted. It's all bullshit. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I don't feel like that. I feel like I'm like an autistic savant who's good at riding a tricycle.
Right,
that's-
you're not the
yeah,
average
yeah.
Austin. I don't know if you know this, Alex. It's not like I walk around and you're everybody you see walking down the street.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like you, talks like you, carries themselves like you. Quite the contrary, my friend. Quite the contrary.
Well,
you are a outlier. Your political positions make you probably scary to 65% of the community.
You think so in Austin?
Yes.
Or do you think that like that's what people are kind of psyoping you into believing? Because when I pedicab downtown, right? Like I have these rap songs, these like conspiracy theory comedic rap songs, right? And I play them for like 80% of my customers. And it gets a really good response from the people I give rides to.
There's no question that people who are drinking and having fun will listen to what you say
And be amused by it,
and
right?
be amused by it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about going to work, going around the other people that pay them their money. Like, again, dude, we've already seen, this is what I talk about all day long.
Yeah,
with
like if
Matt.
I worked at a corporate office, I couldn't walk around talking about how Hillary Clinton eats babies and
I'm just saying that my point is that back in the 40s or the 30s, there's just some kid who's like, that was my friend Heinz. Now he's just some rat Jew who belongs in an oven. And that is the way that people's minds transformed, and that I don't think that there's any reason to think that is not what we're going to see in the next 5 years. That there's going to be people who have a future as outlined by the people that is more powerful than them, and that everybody below them is holding them back. And there is a great future for us once we get rid of them.
Yeah.
And it's fucking coming. Don't be stupid. It's why I sell weed, because I just want y'all to understand one thing. Fuck you, I ride with them all day long. And I ain't talking about the cut your dick off them. I'm talking about your others, the motherfuckers that weren't invited to sit at the table, the ones that were always told, now build it for us. Yeah, we're coming to get our fucking piece. You've been owing it, you've been holding it, and you ain't gonna keep it for fucking ever, is my position. I'm honestly betting on them. They're way more organized. Their goddamn legions of evil motherfuckers seem to really be sold out to, I have something and you don't. And that's all they have. It's what they wake up for every day, while we're up like, well, let's just get pussy and hang out with our family and get high. They're like, no, I have to have something they don't. And they're way more focused on that than we are in fucking quality of life.
I suppose. I think that a lot of the people, though, that are, I think that there are a lot more level-headed and sane people in Austin than what is representative of our government.
Then I hope you're right, because I've been
From giving
holed up in
pedicab
my
rides,
house.
From giving pedicab rides downtown, I can tell you that, I mean, some days are better than others, and some days are worse than others, but for the most part, I do really believe that most people who live here in Austin are a lot more sane and reasonable than the people who are governing them. And I think there is a communication issue that needs to be transmitted to a lot of those people. I think that the majority of Austin, the majority of Austinites who live here are very different than the majority of Austin voters.
I mean, I'm gonna have to take your word for it because I don't talk to
Adam,
enough
where do
people.
you live in Austin?
I live in the Williamson County part of Austin.
So what district? 6?
I believe that is right. That is McKinley, whatever name.
Mackenzie Kelly, yeah.
Yeah.
You thought about running?
I mean, I've
I mean,
never really given a lot of thought to any of it because, let's be honest, I assume that it's all just bought and paid for and everyone's just doing like Jose is. That motherfucker does whatever until it's time to goddamn run. And now, guess what? The same ounce of coke that didn't get you shit is going to get you indicted because it's an election year.
Yeah, I know that. It's all politicized. But what I'm saying, Adam, and I like Mackenzie. She's my friend. She's all right, right? Like, I'm not saying anything bad about her.
I don't even know who the fuck she is.
But have you thought about running for office at all in this coming election year?
Negative.
Why?
I'm really trying to establish the cheapest weed in the country. Austin
Yeah, but do you
has-
think, okay, you want to establish the cheapest weed in the country, and that's very, very good, and it's very noble.
What?
And more people should smoke weed, and you should, and less people should use big pharma products. I understand.
Well, I want to stand in front of a banner that just says, what does it do for the Austin weed buyer? And I just want to
Okay.
be the guy that's like, hey, listen, like Bill Clinton. Hey, is your weed price cheaper than it was 4 years ago? Take credit. You know, like I'm going to do the Bill Clinton. That's it. I just want to take credit for everyone's weed price went down.
Right, but what, like, you know, do you think that an effective city council campaign of you
No.
addressing the issues
No.
could help your
No.
business?
No.
Why not?
That they're all like upstream, like you said, Davos shit. They create the narrative that fucking Jose Garza repeats.
But that just sounds so
and gets
black pill.
elect-
Like, but you know what though? Then if people like you don't run, if people like you don't put themselves out there and get on a visible scale, because you're a very charismatic guy that people want to listen to. You know, if you're not getting out, I mean, and you have gotten out there in the past, like there's no better time than now from just having talking to you, of wanting to get out there and shake it up. Like, what do you have to lose? Adam, what do you have to lose?
If you want to be my campaign manager and you want to put me on a ballot, I will happily run. But I'm like, bro,
I think this is a
don't
discussion that should be
encourage
continued.
them. Don't encourage them. Don't let them think that they're getting away with this shit. Sell weed. Get your fucking family a
Adam,
hustle.
When you go speak on these candidate forums, you even if nothing happens, you have an opportunity free on television to call these people out and make these people look like total fucking idiots.
Let's go.
So you
Let's
should
go.
run just for that, and you should at the very least, like, have you seen my city council videos? Has Matt ever showed you my city council videos?
I am not going to tell you that I've watched them specifically, but I'm sure that I've seen you, because I've definitely seen plenty of people in rainbow wigs haranguing city councils. So I'm sure at some point you being in there talking shit has crossed my feed. I just don't remember what you were saying.
Matt, I will show you my city council videos, and I do think that the idea of you potentially running in this election cycle should get revisited and talked through on a serious level. Because
Okay, I'm fine to do it.
you do. And from my opinion, I think you have a lot more. You have a lot to gain and very little to lose.
And I would be
from
very
this.
linear. Like, it wouldn't be hard to understand what I stand for.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Adam, we've talked for over an hour. It's been so awesome. How do we get a hold of you?
737 Gas Buds.
Okay, what's the name of your company? What's the website? What's the social media? Tell us everything. Come on.
ATXBudtenders.com, 737 Gas Buds. That's fucking it.
No Instagram, no Twitter, nothing.
We're trying. If you are a publicist, call me. I'll give you free weed. I need help.
All right, great advertising. Adam Reposa, thank you.
Thank you so much. We lost Matt Sadowski.
Oh.